All right. Hey, everyone. This is week number 3. So there's just 3 things I want to go over today. I want to go over first thing, accountability, right? What's the progress look like? Second thing, I thought it would be only fair to share with you how I came up with the chapters, right? Why 14 chapters? How did you title them, right? What was the thought process? What, right? Because that's my outline, right? So I'm using that to guide the story. And then the third thing, right, I just want to reiterate the purpose of this podcast so that we're all on the same page. So this week's progress, for the last 5 days, Monday through Friday, right, I get up at super early in the morning, I do my thing, and I give 45 minutes to the writing, right? Some days it's more writing, some days it's a little more research. And some days you just write so much that, or you feel like something's coming out of you and you just got to get it out. So there was maybe 2 days where I wrote a little bit past my alarm clock, past my allowance of time, right, if you will. And those are great days, right? I really wish more days were like that, but at the same time, I don't, because sometimes you feel like, oh man, I don't know if I don't know if 24 hours from now when I get back to this, if that thought will still be there. And again, I think that's a good thing because I don't remember who said this, but they said if the idea that you have is really, really good, you won't forget about it. Again, I don't remember who I heard that. When I remember, I'll make sure to give them all the props that they deserve. All right, so let's go over the number of chapters. Let's go over the titles, and let's go over the source material that I got it from. Right. So as you can see, I got it from the Bible, more specifically the NIV. Right, Psalms 101, and I used the entire chapter. Right. So in chapter 1, there's a word. It says, "I will sing of your love and justice. To you, Lord, I will sing praise." Love and justice is chapter 1 of the novel. And in verse 2, right, of Psalms 101, I get 2 chapter titles. I get blameless, and then I get the affairs. And I know in verse 2 it's plural, but I just, again, creative freedom, I just use the affair. All right, in chapter 3, we have 2 more chapters. We have the vile. Again, I added the. And then we have faithless. No the this time for chapter 5, coming out of verse 3. In verse 4, it says, "The perverse of heart shall be far from me. I will have nothing to do with what is evil." I didn't use perverse of heart. I used perverted heart. So I changed it a little bit. When you get to verse 5, chapter 7, so these 2 words weren't together, right? It says, "Whoever slanders their neighbor in secret, I will put to silence." I put them together, and I flipped their order. So instead of slanders in secret, it's secret slander. Chapter 8, also out of verse 5, it's haughty eyes and a proud heart. So I just took out all the words in between and I put haughty and proud. Verse 6, we have chapter 9 where it says the faithful. And then also, if you look a little bit down, the second part of that verse 6, it says, "The one whose walk is blameless will minister to me." I didn't use the exact same word minister. I used the word ministry. So chapter 10 is titled the ministry. Now in verse 7, right here, we have 2 more chapters, right? "No one who practices deceit will dwell in my house." I titled that chapter "House of Deceit." Again, same 2 words. I just flipped the order. "No one who speaks falsely will stand in my presence." So for chapter 12, I just used the word false. I took out the "ly," right? And I called it false presence. And then the last 2 chapters in verse 8, "Every morning I will put to silence all the wicked in the land." I just used silence the wicked, right? "And I will cut off every evildoer from the city of the Lord." Last chapter is the cutoff, right? I The reason I used all those 14 was because for whatever reason, those 14 words or words, the grouping of words, they just stuck out to me like they were supernaturally highlighted. And I want you to know that I did some research because I have about 12 or 13 different Bible versions, right? Not just in Spanish, but also the King James Version, the NLT, the New Jerusalem Bible, so on and so forth. All great words, whatever. So remember, NIV, right? I used the NIV version. So all the other versions that I didn't use for the titles, what I did was the words that I found that I liked pertaining to that specific scripture, I put it under the title and said, use these words in this chapter. So technically you can say I grabbed all of the versions of the Bible that I own and I'm putting them to work, right? That's how I came up with it. That's how I came up with the titles of the chapter. which really stipulates the number of chapters. The number 14, maybe it should mean something to me. I mean, I was married in 2014, so there's that, right? Okay, so that's how I got the titles and all that and the number of chapters. Let me just reiterate the 4 reasons that I am doing this podcast. The first one, the main one, really, if I don't do this one, for me, I'll feel like, hey, you missed the mark. Like that's the whole purpose of doing what you're doing. So the first one is accountability, right? I want to keep track. I lost, I want to say 2 years where I didn't keep myself accountable. Like I did things, I took notes. The day that I opened up like the 13 or 14 Bibles that I own, that was a couple years ago, right? And I had a lot of steam, but I wasn't keeping a track of anything, and that was on me. The second reason is I want to inspire all creative people, right? I don't care if you write, maybe you don't write, maybe, hey, I like to compose or I like to cook, or sometimes listening to other creatives inspires other creatives in different, I was going to say genres, but not just in genres, but like just in totally different fields and industries. And why not, right? More power to you. And then the third reason is I want to help other writers. I want to show them, hey, it's possible, right? If you want to create a podcast, do it. And if you don't, hey, this silly guy's coming up with funny ideas and he's using other books and other source material to build a book. Why, you can do the same thing, and you can build a book about whatever interests you. If you're going to write something, it might as well be something that you love, right? That inspires you and that captures your imagination. Last reason is I want to build anticipation for the novel, right? We're already here. We're in this journey together. So it's not just me like I'm freaking out because I'm like, how is this going to end, right? And every chapter when it starts, I'm like, how are we going to get from 5 to 6, from 6 to 7, and then and then as I go back and I look from chapter 1 to, now I'm like, what? Like, this is crazy. Also, what I want to do, I don't know if in this podcast or in the next few podcasts, as you know, I'm in chapter 7, midway, I believe midway, right? Halfway through. I want to put out the 6 chapters that I have thus far. I want to give everyone a chance to read what I have. I want you to see my style or lack thereof. And because I want people to know, hey, I like this. I want to follow this. I want to see how far this kid can go and what he's got, what he writes. This is interesting. Oh, and if you don't like it, hey, you know what? This podcast and this dude ain't for me. On to the next, right? Feel free to swipe left, right, or whatever app, whatever direction it tells you to do so, right? Next. All right. And then with that, I want to leave you with a really inspiring and a very, I don't know if timely is the word, but it just makes sense. The quote that I found, I recently just found it from a gentleman named Mario Götze. This is a famous German soccer player from the fatherland. And he said, every chapter in life helps you move forward. So let's move forward together. Hey, everyone, have a great night. And thanks again for, allowing me to be part of your journey too. Talk to you later.